Alliance approached the city of Manitowoc to discuss the fate and emphasis that the city was going to put on the development and utilization of the river in Manitowoc. And of course at the time things were kind of busy, so that contact was passed off as contacts often are to distinguished retirees. So Kevin Crawford got in touch with this group and put together a number of people who started meeting at the Maritime Museum. That was a diverse group, including downtown retailers like John Hemken and Pat Mecca. Anton Dunoff was part of it. Also industrialists like Jim Ruffalo from Burger Boat. We had Chris Ali there. And then, you know, for some reason I got included on there as being knowledgeable about the harbor itself and the river's role as a commercial harbor. And then Kevin and Norma came in later, Connie Loden, Karen Zyman, as we kind of expanded the scope. Initially, our discussion topic was really revolved around the badger and the badger situation, because at that time the EPA was just starting to really lean on them, and we were wondering how we could marshal support on their behalf. And as that group spread out through our respective influences in the community, we just carried the message and wrote our letters and tried to be as passionate an advocate of the badger and its role in our community as we could. After that, though, we started discussing the broader topic of what the river meant to the city of Manitowoc and what was distinct, and how could we use the river to promote economic activity and development within the city. So two things emerged as a consensus. First of all, Manitowoc is kind of unique in that the river evenly divides our town in half. And that is both a positive and a negative. It brings the river into the center, but it creates this barrier between either half of the city. So we really couldn't do too much about that. The other thing that is unique about the city of Manitowoc compared to other communities with river is that Manitowoc is a bona fide commercial port. And the group assembled there, and this was retailers and business owners of all shapes and sizes, agreed that the identity of Manitowoc as a commercial port was central to the promotion and use of the river in working in economic development. And not only myself as harbor master at the time, and Chris Ali as owner of all the port property inside the river, but Anton Dunoff and John Hemken and Pat Mecca all agreed that this is something that we could hang our hat on, that gave us a unique identity among the coastal communities of the state, and we could develop some promotion off of it. So just coming to that idea was a pretty good accomplishment considering the diversity of the people we had at the table. But now we started thinking about, you know, how can we keep this group together? What should we do to continue to promote the river and the commercial port? Well, Jason Rigg and I had been at a meeting earlier that year of the Wisconsin harbor towns, and we had heard this this phrase, industrial tourism. And we thought this is something that we could use to help promote Manitowoc statewide. That you could come to Manitowoc, you could sit at a cafe table or sit outside along the riverfront in front of the library and watch commercial port activity, because it's interesting. In Milwaukee, you can't get close to the commercial port activity. In Green Bay, it's kind of removed from downtown. But here in Manitowoc, the ships are going to go right up and down the center of town. So, in promoting this, we went to the city's comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2009, because it really had our steps laid out perfectly for us. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We just had to get the wheel rolling. So in putting together a fairly ambitious and large-scale project like this, the people sitting around the table knew that it really wasn't going to do us any good unless we could talk fairly firm dollars and cents. Because the next step in realizing this vision of industrial tourism, as outlined by the city's comprehensive plan, was to extend the Mariners Trail out and around the outside of the river near the industrial part of the peninsula, and then back out towards eventually hook up to the Ice Age Trail. But as everybody who's familiar with the city knows, that this is an extremely steep and heavily wooded area. Nobody really knew what was back there. Well, at the time, the city's financial situation was fairly tight, so there was just going to be no sense in proposing to the city council that they ought to invest money into building a recreational trail around there so that people could see the activity at the port, when we had no idea how it costs, what it would cost. So our first step was to go to the city council and propose that we apply for a coastal management grant to explore this, hire an engineering firm to give us an estimate as to what it would cost to place a Mariners Trail-like installation around the outside of the river. And we were able to successfully do that. And right now, this coastal management grant, all indications are that we are going to receive it. It's pending right now, but that'll allow us to hire an engineering firm to give us an estimate to build that, reinforce the dock walls here, and eventually construct something that will allow people to come, view all the activity in the peninsula area here, yet still be connected to the downtown area in through here. So this is a 3 to 5 year, 4, maybe 6 year project, because part of the construction is going to involve replacing all the seawall around here and preventing the erosion from the funeral home and the park that's up there, Riverview Park. And seawall, as Mr. Buckley knows, is quite expensive. Yes. However, given a combination of the private and public interests in putting forth requests for funding, we stand a much better chance of building these new amenities that are going to complete the vision that Jason is bringing as the coast, and that Norma has over here at the Maritime Museum and the Marine Sanctuary of bringing people in and out of town. We all know what the popularity has been of the Maritime Trail. And if we can successfully extend it inland and up the river, we should see more traffic coming in and out of the downtown areas, which is what we're really after. But the real attraction here, or one of the attractions, is going to be watching the operations of the commercial or the industrial facilities that are sitting on the peninsula right now. So, I guess when they first invited me to talk here, I wasn't really sure that I was connected into tourism, but I guess we are. The lesson to me is that you can accomplish a lot of these things as long as you put together the right people, have an open mind, and establish a nice consensus, and then apply the proper leverage to move them forward. It's very difficult to look at that area right now and conceive that there could be a path there. Yet, the comprehensive plan calls for it. The council had already adopted that, so we didn't have to, demonstrate this was a good thing or not. because it had already been agreed upon. So the next project for this group, this is the disposition of this area right here, which is currently owned by the railroad. And we plan to find a way to transfer that out of the railroad ownership into private or public hands so it can be developed, because it's an ideal infill development area for the city and one of the few areas of growth that can take place west of 40 or east of 43. We meet every second Tuesday at the Maritime Museum at 7:30, and anybody is welcome to come.
Mike, do you know other cities that use this concept of industrial tourism?
Well, the Sioux Locks are one example. I know that St. Paul, Minnesota does. You know, anywhere really you've got an active waterfront and it's in a fairly narrow band, then you can find it. Thank you all for coming.